Classrooms open about Mu, Maya, Lemuria, ancient America. I already been deep into this video, but I want y'all to get some of this with me. So, one time for the one time before I go.
String of green jade beads. Green jade is not a Mexican mineral. To Niven, the features were unmistakably Chinese.
Ancient
How do Chinese artifacts of an immense age end up in Mexico if there was no contact with other nations? Next, they will be telling us people worldwide started building pyramids without any knowledge of each other.
See? Thank you.
Niven commented on the statuette and the Aztecs by saying, "This statue became buried in the valley many thousands of years before the Aztecs came along, so it was not made by them. The Aztecs were newcomers in Mexican history who ravaged the cities created by the Toltecs, Olmecs, and Mayas. The Aztecs did not build.
Let's talk about it.
To my mind, the Aztecs were probably the latest in a long line to enter this area in an emigration that peopled North America in forgotten ages. The tiny statuette provides the link for which we have been searching. It says without speaking that some ancient tribes of Mexico were offshoots of the East Asian visitors. This statue has been referenced to show Chinese influence in Central America by Gavin Menzies and many recent literary works. In the chamber over the tomb, Niven was awestruck by the red, blue, yellow, green, and black wall paintings that were perfectly preserved under some sort of wax. He would say the paintings were as good, if not better, than anything the ancient Greeks, Etruscans, or Egyptians had to offer. What could possibly explain this three-tiered discovery? How could a city be discovered 30 feet beneath the earth? For the lowest city to become naturally buried beneath 30 feet of soil would take hundreds of thousands of years.
Gotta return to the
There is ample evidence to suggest the site has seen at least 3 cataclysms. The first, of a volcanic nature, destroyed the lowest city, accounting for a large amount of volcanic ash. The second and third were by flood or enormous tidal waves. This explains the layers of boulders, rocks, gravel, and sand closer to the surface. Also, the second and third cataclysms more than likely filled in the volcano. That mysterious visitors arrived in the Americas by sea in a long-forgotten age is not a new theory. It has been discussed for many years. According to the case readings, various previous cultures could be found around Mexico City. When asked if the most important temples and pyramids had already been discovered, Case answered, "Those of the first civilization have been discovered but are being replaced or attempting to be rebuilt. The second and third civilizations may never be found, and if they were, they would impact on the modern civilization of Mexico." Case continues by noting that the influences upon this region were not restricted to the Atlanteans. In his words, there was a mixing of cultures in Mexico. They were from Yucatan, Peru, Lemuria, and from across the Pacific. In the late 19th century, British-American archaeologist Augustus Le Plongeon first published his idea of Lemuria. Le Plongeon, who had examined many Mayan sites, claimed that writings at these sites indicate that the Mayan civilization was older even than Egypt and dated back to an earlier lost continent. Naming it Mu, Le Plongeon's lost continent had been submerged after a catastrophe. This Mu had been a continent occupied by an advanced civilization that had, in ancient times, sunk into the depths of the Pacific Ocean. According to his theory, refugees from that catastrophe then fled to regions throughout the Earth. Some made their way to Central America to become the Mayans, and others founded ancient Egypt. The theory is accepted by many Asian archaeologists. In Japan, for instance, they even have a Mu museum.
Under the sea?
Before the end of the Ice Age, the world's ocean levels were considerably lower than they are now, and exposed at least 5 million acres of land, which is now underwater. This is a well-known scientific fact. Perhaps Niven's lost civilization came from an area that is now submerged by water. Maybe even the long-lost continent of Lemuria. It is also interesting to note that some Paleo-Indian artifacts were found in the Great Valley of Mexico dating to around 10,000 BCE.
Paleo.
This is probably why this incredible discovery has been ignored. It just doesn't fit nicely with what we have been told. In fact, it is worse than that. San Miguel Amantla has fallen victim to urban development and is now covered in concrete and asphalt at present. Of course, Mexicans and other Latin Americans are usually a mix of native and European blood. But the connections to Asia are often ignored. Still, we have uncovered a fascinating piece of evidence that cannot be overlooked. Recent DNA studies showed that about 1/3 of the people sampled in Guerrero, Mexico, had 10% Asian ancestry.
Silk Road.
Guerrero is 12 kilometers from the Niven ruins at San Miguel Amantla. Indeed, this cannot be a coincidence and casts severe doubts on what we have been told about human dispersal patterns within the Americas. The links between Asia and the Americas have been proved, and outdated theories should now be put where they belong. That is, in the bin.
In the garbage.
With regards to William Niven, he has not been given the credit he deserves. He made some remarkable discoveries which should have opened a new field for archaeological research on this continent. He showed that man was in the Americas in a highly civilized and cultured state thousands of years before the Europeans arrived. Between 1921 to 1932, Niven recovered numerous artifacts from the Valley of Mexico, and many of these items can be observed in reputable institutions today. He also uncovered 2,600 or so stone tablets containing undecipherable writing even to the experienced archaeologists he worked with.
I'm sure.
But that's a story for another day.
That was beautiful. 7 minutes on time. 7:11. Let's go. That was beautiful. So I hope y'all enjoyed it. That's the last classroom for today. I'm about to smoke and go to the galaxies. One time for the one.